Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by payers. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. For sure. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, bar guys? Welcome to Basketball at the Bar. Join us live every weekday for the best NBA podcast here on YouTube, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code, and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and please don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Cheers, Calvin. It's Wednesday.
Cheers.
I like that hand, dude. It's a little swollen. Welcome in, everybody. It is Wednesday, April 13th. This is the third installment of Basketball at the Bar Live. We are here today currently watching the Spurs take on the Pelicans. Spurs didn't really show up to this game so far. I know they were talking about earlier that they packed for a 4-day trip because they intended to go and play the Clippers.
I hope they brought their fishing poles.
Win that game too, but they are not playing well. And, you know, as far as our prediction on yesterday's show, it's going, both games are going
Four teams
perfect.
played today. Well, let me take that back. 4 teams scheduled to play today. Only 2 teams actually played today.
Yes, the Hawks destroyed the Hornets earlier today, and we're going to discuss that after this game is complete. But we just thought we'd hang out here and watch the rest of this Spurs Pelicans game with you all. Give you our commentary and just kind of comment on how everything's going so far. So Calvin, you know, currently the score in this game is 97-88.
It's actually a lot closer than it should be.
It is, because they were getting blown out at one point. But what are your thoughts on this game, other than McCollum playing incredible?
Yes, CJ is having a huge game. Valanciunas has already got another double-double. You know, Brandon Ingram, who knows exactly how healthy he is, but he's sitting at 19 points and 5 assists right now. Both of today's games, just a story of lack of defensive awareness on the perimeter. One team red hot from the field and the other team ice cold. In this game, San Antonio shooting just a shade under 42% from the field and only 33% from outside. However, the Pelicans are shooting 56% from the field and 44% from downtown. The shooting disparities for both of these games are enormous, and that has been the difference so far.
Yeah, home cooking is pretty amazing, right?
Yes.
It's crazy. We've watched 4 games now in the play-in, and it seems like only the home teams win.
Yeah, well, I mean, that happens. What I'm, I guess, disappointed with, you know, yesterday's games, the Brooklyn-Cleveland game was at one point a blowout. Cleveland kind of made a game of it at the end. They were entertaining games to watch, though. Both games were close towards the end of the game. That Minnesota LA Clippers game was wire-to-wire close, basically. But they had playoff-style atmospheres behind them, you know? These 2 games, they just illustrate to me why I don't like the play-in. Because you've got a bunch of teams that I don't think deserve to be here, and one of them is going to end up advancing and possibly has a chance to sneak into this round of 16 when they're probably going to get swept. So it's just hard to watch bad basketball when the level of basketball is supposed to be so much better now that we're turning the page to the postseason, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, both teams could lose on Friday, and
that's true.
You know, it could just be the top 8 teams. We got to see 6 extra games of basketball, but you're right. You know, this definitely dilutes the product a little bit here. You know, we saw yesterday's game. The Timberwolves were celebrating like they won a championship after that victory. And I know they got some flack for that. But as far as today goes, it seems like both of these games are pretty one-sided. Not that this Spurs game is over quite yet. They are making a run here. Over. This to me, I'm a little worried if I'm the Pelicans at this point, because this is what Greg Popovich does, right? Is he makes adjustments at halftime. He kind of lets his team just stick around there. And then the last 2 minutes of this game are going to be super important. And the Spurs are actually playing pretty good team ball. They have 6 guys in double figures right now scoring. It's a pretty balanced attack for them. The Pelicans, they're playing well. CJ McCollum is playing incredibly well. Brandon Ingram's in foul trouble. There's been a few people in foul trouble in this game. I think Jackson Hayes as well.
Yeah.
But
pretty wild that they start Valanciunas and Jackson Hayes in this game. That's a lot of size in there.
It is. And, while we're on commercial right now, I just, I was thinking about it today. I was like, wow, Valanciunas is a great player, right? Like, he can do so many different things. And they were mentioning on the broadcast.
Better than Steven Adams, right?
So that's exactly what I want to talk about. So, they were mentioning during the broadcast here, right after he airballed a three-pointer, they were like, he was actually leading the league in three-point percentage for a portion of the season, which is absolutely wild.
So crazy to think about, because there's been guys shooting well over 40% all season long.
Yeah. So it's pretty incredible, right? And then you look back, he's been on 3 teams now. He's very productive in Toronto, but he's gotten better since he's left. He was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. I said Memphis, not Minnesota.
Yes.
He was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, for Marc Gasol. That trade ended up working out for the Raptors because they win a title.
Yeah.
But then Gasol leaves, goes to the Lakers, wins another title.
Yeah, it does.
And then you look at Memphis. They didn't hold on to Valanciunas very long, and then they flipped him for Steven Adams, pretty much like a direct flip here. And that's after the Pelicans had traded for Steven Adams from Oklahoma City. So, both of these guys have switched teams. They're both playing well, and both teams are playing incredibly well. So I want to hear your thoughts on the fit with Valanciunas on this Pelicans team versus the Grizzlies and Steven Adams as well.
Well, I think the fit for both players on each respective team is a great fit. I mean, you look at Memphis, they led the league this year in rebounding and block shots. Steven Adams is obviously a big part of that. Valanciunas he gives you a little bit more, right? Like he can score more. He's a much better shooter than Steven Adams is. His offensive game is much more versatile, but he's still going to give you the rebounds. He's not maybe as much of a interior rim protector or shot blocking threat, but he's still going to get him because he's a big dude. Mm-hmm. So I love the fit for both these guys on both teams. I personally feel that Valanciunas is the better player overall, so I like what New Orleans did here. But you can't argue that it wasn't a good move for Memphis. They're the 2nd seed. Steven Adams has been the pillar in the middle for them all year long. Mm-hmm. Very productive in his own right. And as I mentioned, they lead the league in all those categories, and they're a well-rounded team. So it works for both of them.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect example of a win-win trade, right, that works out for both teams. My question for you, I know you said Valanciunas is the better player, but fit is super important. If Valanciunas is on the Grizzlies, are they a better or worse team? And if Steven Adams is on this Pelicans team, are they worse since he's not as good of a player in your mind?
I'm not sure. Memphis is just the better team overall, right? Mm-hmm. So if you switch these two guys, I think New Orleans still ends up with a worse record overall than Memphis because Memphis is just a better team. They're deeper. I think they've got more firepower when it comes to athleticism and wing depth. They've got a bunch of really good wing defenders as well. New Orleans has just recently taken this team to a new level because they acquired CJ McCollum, right? He's been a huge game changer for them. So I think that's the bigger deal here when we're looking at, how these teams shake out.
Yeah.
I still think Valanciunas is the better player, but I don't know if you were to swap both these guys, I think both teams probably end up right around the same spot.
Okay.
Because of the way the whole team has to work around them.
Yeah.
It's not like, you put Valanciunas on any team in the league and that team automatically wins 5 to 10 more games.
Yeah, I think that Memphis has a few more guys that can handle the ball on that team than the Pelicans after they lost Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday. So I think that Valanciunas can do a little bit more on this Pelicans team, right? Like we saw him taking the ball up the court in this game. And, that's not something that Steven Adams does. And that's something that you don't need from your center on that Memphis team. Yeah. Even with Ja Morant out, they're perfectly fine because they have so many guys that can move the ball, So I agree. I think that
I really think Valanciunas gets overlooked a lot, actually. And part of that is because we've got all these incredibly talented centers in the league right now, right? You've got Jokic and Embiid who are at the top of the MVP race. So Valanciunas, he does a lot of the same things that both of those guys do. He's not as good of a passer as Jokic. He's probably not as good of a post-up player as Embiid in terms of the different types of moves, fadeaways, and things like that. But he is a very, very skilled big man in his own right, and I think gets overlooked a lot.
What's up, Priest? Good to see you here. You did say the T-Wolves would win, and
that's right. And now we get the what was I calling them? The Memphis-Soda Grizzly Wolves series.
Oh man, that's going to be confusing and exciting. Very exciting. But yeah, the Pelicans are really having some problems here. They played extremely well in the first half of this game. I think they were up by 33 at one point.
I think
maybe
their largest lead was 21.
Okay, 21.
Still a lot.
And they're struggling right now.
Yeah,
they really are.
They were shooting really, really well early on, and now they've started to go a little cold, which is why San Antonio's been able to kind of creep their way back in here. But, with under 6 minutes now, that's a big
block.
Defensive play right there.
San Antonio needs to go at Brandon Ingram. They need to get him out of here. He's already got 4 fouls. Make him pick up the 5th. That really limits him, both on offense and defense, because Brandon Ingram, he likes to get his spot. He can work inside, but he's not going to be that aggressive if he's got 5 fouls.
That's true. And New Orleans is also going to have Brandon Ingram. I'm not sure exactly who he's guarding right now, maybe Keldon Johnson, but either way, the Pelicans are going to try to hide him, quote unquote, defensively, right? He's not going to be guarding DeJounte Murray. So you're going to have a situation where whoever he's on, that's maybe not necessarily their game to try to go at him one-on-one.
I want to hear your thoughts on Herb Jones. I know he's a rookie this year, second-round pick. I think he was number 35 overall. Doris Burke has just been raving about him in this game, about how he's the best rookie defender. I don't know if I agree with that because there's a guy named Davion Mitchell who's also a rookie and a pretty good defender himself. But he's got 10 points tonight, 2 blocks, a steal. He's playing pretty good. And I've heard quotes from people around the league saying he is the best at drawing charges that they have ever seen.
Yeah, so Herb Jones is a guy, went to Alabama. Actually, Joshua Primo, who is a rookie for the San Antonio Spurs. They were on the same team last year. But Herb Jones is exactly what Doris Burke is talking about. He is a very long, athletic, versatile defender, averaged almost 2 steals a game and nearly a block per game this year. He played in 78 games for the Pelicans this season. So he is definitely a top rookie defender, I would say. Davion Mitchell is a great on-ball defender, but he doesn't have anywhere near the length that Herb Jones does, right? So Herb Jones is a more versatile guy. He can be switched off to and guard probably one, maybe 2 more positions than Davion Mitchell can.
Yeah, this Pelicans team has really done a great job in adding talent. They were in a very tough situation with Anthony Davis wanting out. They were able to flip him for a bunch of talent. They pretty much let all those guys go, right? Lonzo Ball's gone, Josh Hart's gone. They still have Brandon Ingram.
This team looks almost nothing like what it looked like just a couple of seasons ago.
They still have Brandon Ingram. They signed him to a max deal. He's been playing incredibly well. As I said, they were able to draft Herb Jones in the second round.
Yep.
Credit to David Griffin there. They traded for Valanciunas. He's been playing incredibly well. They brought in CJ McCollum this year. For you, Calvin, what do the Pelicans need to do to take the next step?
Man, that's a good question. I think they probably need to add more depth on this team. Outside of all of those guys that you just mentioned, they don't have much for them coming off the bench. And of course, not having Zion hurts that, right? Because somebody has to start over him. So getting Zion back will help add a little bit more to their depth. But I love their starting lineup. I mean, whoever you're going to have playing point guard, it almost doesn't even matter. To go along with CJ, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas, that's a great start right there. I would have to see how that team performs throughout the course of a season. I'm not ready to sit here and say once Zion comes back, they're automatically, a top 5 team in the West. But you have to think that they're going to be better than what they are right now. And they ended the season playing really, really good basketball. So they're certainly a dangerous team and a team to keep your eye on. It's credit to David Griffin, right? Because after Anthony Davis demands his way out, DeMarcus Cousins gets hurt, you're thinking, how is this team going to survive? You have flashbacks to the Chris Paul leaving, and you're just like,
right.
how is this franchise ever going to recover? But they end up getting Zion, and now they've made these other acquisitions not through the draft, right? So that's all David Griffin's work, getting Valanciunas, getting CJ McCollum. He has done everything he's needed to do to keep this team relevant. Now it's a question of getting them back 100% healthy, and what do they look like?
Yeah, speaking of Zion, we actually saw him pregame, warming up, dunking, doing all sorts of stuff on the court. I know they said that he's probably not going to be available for a first-round matchup against Phoenix. However, he's not ruled out for the season. So not that I say they're going to beat Phoenix or anything like that, but they haven't ruled him out for the season, so it is possible that we could see him. But for me, I'm going back to the whole Valanciunas thing, and this team really is lacking a point guard, in my opinion. I think that that's really what they need to add. I like Devontae Graham a lot.
Don't forget, they also have Kyra Lewis Jr., who I think was the 13th overall pick in last year or 2 drafts ago. And he was a guy they had high hopes for, tore his ACL, so he's missed this entire season. But
yeah, they got Devontae Graham coming off the bench. Your guy, Jose Grand Theft Alvarado.
Love the nickname.
Also coming off the bench. But they didn't even start a point guard in this game. They started basically 2 forwards, a shooting guard, and 2 centers.
Again, another reason why adding CJ McCollum to this team is so important, right? Because CJ is not a traditional point guard, but he can definitely fill that role for you. Great ball handler, good decision maker, and of course, a phenomenal scorer.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that said that CJ and Dame couldn't thrive together in Portland because they basically did the same thing. Now CJ's at a different location, and he has the freedom and the ability. He's got the ball now, and he's doing great things. What's he at now? 32 points on the day, 12 of 21 from the field, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, a block. He's having a decent game.
He's having a very good game.
I think this team needs to pass the ball a little bit more, though. I'm just looking here. They don't have very many assists in this game. He's leading the game with 6 assists. You got Brandon Ingram with 5. Herb Jones has got 3, and then you pretty much don't have much from the rest of the guys. So, well,
CJ and Brandon Ingram are 2 isolation one-on-one players, right?
Yep.
They can make plays for others, but their primary game is give them the ball, get them space, and let them go and get their own shot. So it not surprising to me when you're not playing a real point guard or a true point guard for most of the game that you're not going to have that many assists on this team.
Yeah. That's my worry, though. When you're playing this Spurs team, it gets late in this game. You're going to need to move the ball.
Spurs are the complete opposite of that, right?
Yep.
They share the ball incredibly well. They actually were the number 1 team in the league this year in assists per game at just over 28 a game. So,
yeah, this next minute here is going to be really important. If the Pelicans can extend this lead here, or if the Spurs can cut into it. Then you got 2 minutes left in this game. If it's less than double digits, I think the Spurs have a decent chance. But they need to make some shots
They need
here.
some buckets pretty quickly here, though.
There you
That's
go.
a
Another
big
pass
shot.
and a
There you
shot.
go.
Dude, Devin
What
Vassell
up, Jay Drew?
has been playing incredible, dude. I understand why you wanted the Kings to draft him
Oh,
because
yeah,
the dude
love
is an
that guy.
absolute stud. He is an absolute stud. 3 and D. What's up, Jay Drew? Good to see you here. We're just finishing up this Pelicans Spurs game with you guys. There's about 2 minutes left on the game, and then we are going to break down the Hawks win over the Hornets. We're going to talk about some teams that have gone fishing today, and then we're going to break down Friday's matchups. Cavaliers, Hawks,
All
and
the marbles.
Clippers, potentially Pelicans. Calvin closed his hand in a car door earlier, so it's a little swollen. Man, Greg Popovich has really lost some more hair, huh?
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's aged a lot over the past couple of seasons. I mean, he's been through some hard times.
Yeah?
But
Oh, man. You gotta
funny
make
story,
that.
actually. So my family has a house up in Maine. It's in this really tiny town right on the coast. And Greg Popovich actually owns a house like a few miles from ours. Never seen him up there, though.
What's up, Ivan? Thanks for your prayers and thoughts for Calvin. I was just joking. He's got a
Thanks,
new
buddy.
He's got a new koozie hand.
It's okay. Yeah, it's intimidating to people, so
I wish it was green, like the hole.
Yeah, Hulk smash.
But then it would disappear.
it would. But that would be kind of cool. Floating beer, like, you know.
Oh, thank you guys all for joining us. How's your guys' day today? Let me know what you guys have been doing. Have you guys been watching basketball all day or what? I went to the beach and I got absolutely sunburned pretty bad on my stomach. And I was telling the guys earlier, these birds over here are just crazy. I got out of the water, was laying down drying, and this bird lands on my butt, and I had to like shoo him off, dude. He was pretty heavy. It scared me. I thought it was like ocean. I was like, what? What? There's a bird on me.
Well, I think it's safe to say that this one's over. Oh, nice pass.
There
Very
you go.
Nice pass.
That's it. Herb Jones with the dunk, dude. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think the Pelicans really hit on that pick, especially for being a second rounder. He's going to be he has all defensive potential.
What's
for
your
sure.
ideal role for him? Because, you just talked about the starting lineup on this Pelicans team. I don't think he's a starter when Zion's back.
No.
So you're just going to bring him off the bench? Is he your sixth man or?
He's definitely one of the first guys I would bring off the bench. I think Devontae Graham, as long as he stays on this team, is probably the sixth man, right? Just because of how quickly he can get hot from outside and the scoring that he can give you. But Herb Jones, don't get me wrong, like I just said, he's got all defensive team potential. So, yeah, I love his fit on this team. He needs to become a more consistent outside shooter if he's going to really be a consistent role player and play some big minutes. But he definitely can.
Yeah, that's wild, right? 1-12 for the Pelicans, and now they're fighting for a play-in spot or playoff spot, I mean. Uh-oh. I think it's official, Calvin.
Yep, that makes us 3-1 on our play-in picks so far.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is choose the home team.
Those pesky Timberwolves.
Is what I should have done, is just choose the home team every time. Oh, they're going to slow it down here. You know what this reminds me of right here is, do you remember that T-Mac game where he had like, what was it, like 12 points in?
I think it was 13 points.
In like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
that was pretty incredible.
It's like foul, three, steal, three.
Oh, man, you guys are at Ivan's at Raising Cane's drive-thru right now?
What's
Man.
Raising Cane's?
You never had Raising Cane's
No.
before? Oh, dude, it's bomb.
What is it?
It's like a, what do I compare it to? I mean, it's a fast food spot, but they have really good like all fried food stuff.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. We don't have many drive-thrus here. I did go through Jollibee's drive-thru yesterday. Got some fried chicken. Perfect basketball food. All right, it's official, guys. The New Orleans Pelicans defeat the San Antonio Spurs 113-103. Greg Popovich can finally go on vacation. His season is over. And now we have our matchups on Friday. Clippers versus Pelicans. Cavaliers versus Hawks. That's pretty exciting. All right, Calvin. So, real quick, before we jump into our recap of the Hornets Hawks game, I want to give some good news to everybody.
You guys are making me so jealous with the in and out now. My goodness.
Steph Curry practiced in full today.
He did.
He is expected to be available to play on Saturday. So good news for all the Warriors fans out there that were afraid they were going to lose in the first round. Curry's back, and he's ready to go. Hey, that's good for all of us basketball fans because another baller out there makes the games more exciting for us to watch.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, the Warriors, when they're healthy, they're one of the all-time great teams. I love watching them.
Man, I love that double-double at In-N-Out. Oh, man. You guys need to send us some In-N-Out burger. What's up, Brian?
They're better when you get to cook them yourself, though. I know from experience.
Dude, when are we going to do that here?
We got to do it soon.
We got to do it. We got to do
soon.
it. All right. So, to start off the show today, after the watch party,
Let's start the show.
we are going to talk about the Hawks 132-103. Oh, there's the Clippers.
There's
Zion dunking before the game. We're going to talk about the Hawks 132-103 victory. Yes, over the Charlotte Hornets today. You know, two teams showed up, but only one team was playing in this game. It's interesting, Calvin. We talked about this was going to be an absolute sorry about that. This was going to be an absolute, like, gunfight here. We have the fourth and the sixth best scoring teams in the NBA going after each other. Charlotte barely breaks 100 in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, this game was it was over from the time that they jumped it up. Well, a lot of you guys here are Kings fans in the chat, so you know what it's like to see a team give up wide open threes. Charlotte gave up an incredible amount of wide open threes. I think the Hawks had 5 in the first quarter, and they never looked back after that. This is why Atlanta is dangerous, because Trae Young didn't even get off to a good start in this game, but DeAndre Hunter is a guy that I think people forgot about. He missed a lot of time over the past year and a half due to injuries. He is a great two-way player, and when he's hitting his outside shot, Atlanta is a totally different team. You saw Kevin Huerter hit a bunch of threes. Bogdanovic has been a phenomenal six-man for them all year long. When those guys are knocking down outside shots, Atlanta is a really tough team to deal with. But Charlotte shot themselves in the foot because they just let them take all these wide open threes. I mean, there was zero defense played in this game today. This was not, I realize the play-in tournament doesn't count as a postseason game, but this was a regular season game all the way.
Yeah, I think the same thing can be said for Danilo Gallinari too, right?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention him.
Often injured. People forget how good this guy really is. He played incredibly well today. 7 of 12 from the field, 2 of 5 from three-point range, 18 points, played within himself, only 1 turnover. Great game for him. And when he's available, he just adds another dimension to this Hawks team that already shoots incredible, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about John Collins is missing the game. What are the Hawks going to do? They got another guy to just throw right in there who can stretch the floor even better than John Collins and shot lights out in this game.
Yeah. Charlotte just wasn't ready for this stage. I mean, they don't play defense in general, but I expected them to give a little bit of a better effort, seeing as how this was a win-or-go-home game. They didn't. They were completely lost on defense the whole way through. The rotations were horrible. They're not ready for this stage whatsoever. And Atlanta was. They came out ready to play right from the beginning. They got off to a really hot start offensively. they did exactly what they needed to do to win this game. You know, the
Yep.
only thing we said about Atlanta going into this was, will they have, you know, some kind of mental lapse midway through the game that allows Charlotte to not just get back into it, but take the lead? And they never did that. Charlotte, they would get a little bit close a couple times. I think they would get it down to like 6 or 8 points.
Yep.
But as soon as that happened, Atlanta answered with another run.
And that was early in the game, too. I think the Hornets were up like 4 in this game in the first quarter, super early on. And then the Hawks just put their foot on the gas. They were up by 33 at one point, and then they didn't look back.
And the third quarter was
Yep.
lights out for Charlotte.
Yep.
Lights out for Atlanta shooting, but lights out for Charlotte as in it's time to go home and shut it down.
Yeah, if you were watching this game, you'd be surprised that these teams have the same exact record this season because they just look like a completely different team. And Atlanta showed, they were like, hey, we've been to the playoffs and we want to go back. So you guys pack your things, you're out of here. One guy that really did impress me, though, on Charlotte tonight was P.J. Washington. We haven't heard that much about him, right? Like, he had a couple really good years right when he got into the NBA, was very productive player. He's kind of dropped off since then. He's averaging like 10 and 5 this season, 17 big points today in the game. He shot 70% from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 2 big blocks. He was the only guy that looked like he was ready for this game on Charlotte.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, LaMelo definitely struggled at times shooting.
He started chucking threes up.
He was chucking threes. He hit his first couple. So usually when that happens, you know, the guy, anybody, not just LaMelo, but they feel like they've got it. So they're just going to keep putting those shots up. LaMelo, even if he's not hitting his shots, he still is such a phenomenal passer. I mean, even he makes simple chest passes that are like, 6 feet away look beautiful. It's just the ball is on a perfect rope. It's right into the shooting pocket. I think it's understated or undervalued that skill. Like, even making a simple pass that perfectly can really change things for guys like P.J. Washington who get to catch and shoot. And as you mentioned, 3 of 5 today. So
you think MJ and LeVar Ball are arguing now about whose fault it is that they lost this game? MJ's like, LaMelo didn't shoot well at all. And Lonzo's like, no, man, your team, my boy, he did his thing, and your team just didn't show up.
Michael Jordan is not talking to LeVar Ball. He's not going to waste any second of time talking to LeVar Ball.
You don't think they talk at all? His son is the franchise player on the team.
Doesn't matter.
Nope.
MJ's hitting decline on those calls all day long.
I'm still waiting for that one-on-one.
LeVar even has his number.
I'm still waiting on that one-on-one matchup. I guarantee you LaMelo has MJ's number. But
LaMelo does.
Whether he's sharing
Not
it with his
LeVar,
dad or
though.
not, we don't know. I mean, we already saw LaMelo break the mold and sign with an actual shoe company instead of trying to start his own. So that right there. I know one guy you said was key. If Charlotte was going to win this game, they were going to need a huge game out of Miles Bridges. He played okay, 5 of 11, 12 points, didn't make a 3 in this game, but they needed a ton out of him for this game to even be close.
They did, and they really missed Gordon Hayward too.
Yep. Yeah, Gordon Hayward he's a great player. It just
Charlotte's got
he
to
hasn't
figure
been
out their
healthy.
front line. I don't know what they're doing. They just keep rotating players in and out. Now they traded for Montrezl Harrell at the deadline this year.
Yeah.
I like Montrezl Harrell as a player. I like P.J. Washington, but I don't think they have any consistency in their lineups and their rotations when it comes to their forwards and centers. And I think they need to upgrade if they're going to upgrade talent-wise if they're going to become a better team.
Yeah,
Obviously, they have to play better defense to become a better team, too.
I was surprised, that Mason Plumlee only played 11 minutes in this game. It was pretty interesting. But, yeah, on the subject of Montrezl Harrell, I thought he played pretty good in limited time. He only played 16 minutes. But it's just interesting looking at this Washington Wizards team, and you're like, what are you guys doing? They just keep cycling players through. We saw John Wall traded. Since then we've seen Russell Westbrook in and out. I think, didn't we see Dwight Howard there for a minute a few seasons ago? Then he was out. They sent out Montrezl Harrell. They brought in Spencer Dinwiddie, sent him out. It's like what is going on here? At what point is Bradley Beal like, all right, guys, I'll actually want to have a couple guys that I play with for a few years and develop some chemistry. He's got, the unicorn there now who's been injured like the past 2 years, basically. It's just interesting what's going on there with the Wizards.
Yeah.
And not a surprise that they missed the playoffs this year as well. I would love to see LeVar versus MJ. I think we all would. I think we could honestly probably do a pay-per-view for that. But the thing is Michael Jordan, what is his motivation to do that, right?
Oh, he has zero motivation.
He's got no motivation. You can't motivate that guy by money. He's already got plenty of money. Yeah. And he already knows he's going to destroy LeVar Ball.
Yeah, the only way it happens is if MJ decides to take it personal, right?
Yeah, that's true. LeVar Ball would do it for the money, even if he was going to get worked.
Oh, LeVar Ball would.
He would do it. He would do it for the money.
Of course he would.
He would. Anybody else that impressed you on this Hornets team? I know there's not many.
No, I can't really. I'm sorry. I don't have any real positives to take away from this game. It was just so bad a defensive effort. I mean, that's been the story with them all year long.
Yeah,
they usually score a ton of points, and so they stay in games. And they actually had an above 500 record on the road this year, which is kind of amazing. But if you're gonna give up wide open shots time and time again, especially to a team at home that it can really shoot it, you dig yourself an incredibly deep hole to get out of.
Yeah, and the bench played like shit for them in this game. I was surprised. I forgot that Isaiah Thomas was on this team, and I saw him out there. I'm like, Isaiah Thomas? What are you doing out there? He hits a 3 in this game, but only 1 for 4 from the field, only played 6 minutes. I mean, I don't know what to think about Isaiah Thomas at this point. I root for the guy,
just
but
happy for him that he finally got out of the 10-day contracts and back to an actual player in the league again.
Yeah.
It was a long road back for him.
Yeah, and it's official. Anybody that was on a 10-day contract had to be converted to a fully guaranteed contract to be eligible for the playoffs. So there are no 10-day contracts for anybody on these playoff teams right now or play-in teams. All right, let's take a look here at the Hawks because, as I mentioned, they played incredible. 6 guys in double figures. You know, this reminded me of a Coach Bud Hawks team where they just shot the ball well, they passed the ball well. 11 more assists for Trae Young. What'd they say? He was like the first player to lead a season in total assists and total points since like 1970 or something like that.
He's the first guy to do it in both college and the pros since 1973.
Wild. Calvin has much better memory than I. Gallinari, as I mentioned, 18 points. DeAndre Hunter, 22 for him. Clint Capella had a huge game, 15 and 17.
And I expected him to.
This dude is so underrated. He really is.
Only took 9 shots.
Yeah.
But he also had 3 blocks, 2 steals. I mean, he was as good as he needed to be for this Hawks team to win today. And they're going to need him to play this well if they're going to continue to hope to advance, not just past Cleveland, but even further than that. He's just not going to have – he was licking his chops at this matchup today. Yeah. It's not going to be the same against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley inside on Friday.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, there's so many good centers in the league nowadays, and he's not even mentioned in that category because he's so limited in what he does, but the things that he does do.
He's the perfect complementary player, though, for a guy like Trae Young.
He does so incredible. Yeah. I think that a lot of Houston's success is because of Clint Capella, and as soon as they traded him, they just went all downhill from there. They really did.
I think he is very much underrated on that Houston team. And the Hawks, I realize they won by nearly 30, but they played 13 guys in this game today.
Yeah.
13 guys in a playoff game.
Playoff atmosphere.
That's absurd. Nobody plays 13 guys in a playoff game.
24 points for Trae Young tonight, 8 of 24 from the field. If I told you Trae Young shot 1 for 7 from three-point range this game, would you even believe me if I was like, the Hawks shot 50% from three-point range?
Well, I might actually, because the Hawks have that many good shooters on this team. They're really loaded with guys that can shoot it from the outside.
Yeah, Kevin Huerter jumped into the starting lineup here, 13 points for him, 5
DeAndre
rebounds,
Hunter, Gallinari,
4 assists, a
Bogdanovic.
steal. Yep.
They're loaded with shooters.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get to see some more run by Kevin Knox. Only 2 minutes for him. I don't really know what to expect from him. He had such a great rookie season in New York. Kind of fell out of rotation there with Coach Tibbs. Gets traded for, what's that dude's name?
Cam Reddish.
Cam Reddish. And he hasn't really done much in Atlanta at this point.
Hasn't really gotten on the floor that much either.
Yeah. Why do you think they moved on from Cam Reddish? There's not enough
too many
minutes?
mouths to feed on this team. And DeAndre Hunter is a guy that, I think they're choosing DeAndre Hunter over Cam Reddish at this point, because Reddish is a fine young player with a lot of potential and a good two-way player. Mm-hmm. But DeAndre Hunter right now is a better two-way player.
When he's healthy, he is.
Yeah.
That is for sure. Bogdanovic had a huge game, 25 minutes. Only 4 of 9 from the field, but 13 points for him. Just doing what Bogey does. We got to see a few ex-Kings in this game. We got to see DeLon Wright play. As I mentioned, Isaiah Thomas play. But just an overall great team win by Atlanta. They completely dominated this entire game. Almost every single category. They just wanted it more, Calvin.
They did. They absolutely did. And it's par for the course as far as I'm concerned. I wasn't expecting Atlanta to win by 30, but I certainly could have foreseen a 20-point win.
Yeah, it's funny, because I was predicting that the second game was going to be a blowout and the Spurs were not even going to be close in that game. And then it looked like at one point that both games were going to be blowouts. The Spurs were able to come back there at the end and only lose by 10. But, that first game was time probably better spent at the beach for me today.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that Hornets Hawks game?
No, not necessarily, but I kind of want to talk about this trade proposal here from Priest. Miles Bridges and Gordon Hayward for De'Aaron Fox. The only problem with that is Miles Bridges, I believe, is going to be a free agent after that. Or does he have 1 year left?
I don't think he's played 4 years in the league yet. Let me look it up. Let me look it up here. I thought he was like 2019 draft.
And I don't know if...
Oh, you're right.
You'd probably... He is a...
Restricted
free agent.
Free agent.
Okay. So... And I don't know if you're probably going to have to throw in something else from Sacramento there because Gordon Hayward makes a crap ton of money as well.
$7.4 million qualifying offer for him, and the cap hold is like $16 million.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But let me take a look here and see. I mean, you might be able to do a sign and trade to make things work out. But Calvin, let's hear your thoughts.
Well, initially, I kind of like this deal. I mean, what is one of the biggest things that the Kings need? It's wing depth, right?
Yep.
Maybe a guy that you can take over for Harrison Barnes eventually, if not sooner than later. And I think Miles Bridges or Gordon Hayward, you could plug them into the starting lineup right away. Plus, that gives you another really solid option off the bench.
Yeah, so the Kings would have to send out a decent amount of salary.
Yeah, that's the only thing I think that's going to hang this trade up.
Maybe a Rashawn Holmes or a Justin Holiday. Gordon Hayward's making more money than De'Aaron Fox. For me, I'm saying no to the deal.
Oh, really? I'd say no to the deal if I was Charlotte.
Really?
Yeah. I just... It's the same thing for me as Russell Westbrook. Like, everybody's talking about Russell Westbrook to the Hornets this offseason. But in my opinion, you're going to hamper LaMelo Ball's development as a player if you put another guy in the backcourt with him that needs the ball in their hands.
Yeah.
He needs a strictly catch and shoot guy next to him. That's exactly what he needs. A two-way guy who can play defense, but not somebody like Westbrook or even De'Aaron Fox, who are going to have high usage numbers and command the ball in their hands a lot.
Charlotte needs to focus on getting a big man. That's really what they need. I like Miles Bridges a lot. Gordon Hayward's a good player. He's just injured so much, and he makes way too much
Makes
money.
an insane amount of money.
And he's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like he lines up with this Kings core as far as like windows. I'm keeping Fox. I'd rather trade Fox for a guy like Bradley Beal.
I love Miles Bridges, though. I think that would be a great – if the Kings were somehow able to get him,
Yeah.
that would be a great
Hey,
pickup.
maybe Rashawn Holmes for Miles Bridges.
Perhaps.
Sign and trade or something like that. They need a center,
Yeah.
and they don't play defense.
Yeah.
Perfect for Rashawn Holmes. Imagine the alley-oops from LaMelo Ball to Rashawn Holmes.
that would be fun to watch for sure.
Brian likes Hayward. I mean, it's not
I
that
like
I
Hayward
don't
as a
like
player.
him.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think that his salary.
It's hard to justify paying him that much money for what you're going to expect
Yeah.
from him.
I mean, he's a max. He's on a max deal. Is he a max player? I don't think so. Is he the best player on your team? Can he be the best player on your team? I don't think so.
That's hard to answer because I think that's just unfortunately the state of the NBA. I think a bunch of guys get max contracts that you might not consider. I mean, outside of Sacramento, there's probably a bunch of people who don't consider De'Aaron Fox a max player, and he got a max contract. That's a different story for a different day. But I'm just saying, like, just because a guy gets a max contract in today's NBA doesn't necessarily mean they're max players anymore. Like
it's true, but I also feel like a lot of guys are paid on potential.
Yeah,
De'Aaron Fox is going to get better.
Oh yes, like I said,
Gordon
it's a
Hayward,
very, very different situation.
I don't think Gordon Hayward can get any better.
Yeah,
I think he's on the way off at this point, and that's just because of injuries and age. I like the guy. I like his game. Not a good fit for Sacramento.
And not a defender.
Yeah,
whatsoever. That is something that Sacramento absolutely has to focus on.
Yep. So, anything else you want to talk about Hornets Hawks?
No, that game is over. As Chick Hearn used to say, it's in the refrigerator. The eggs are getting hard, what does he say? The eggs are getting cold, the butter's getting hard, and the jello's jiggling. That game is over.
So it's official. We have two teams going fishing today. First off is the Charlotte Hornets after their humiliating defeat. MJ is not happy. And number two is the San Antonio Spurs. Two teams gone now. Eliminated, Calvin. Out. What's next for these teams?
It's back to the drawing board. I mean, we kind of already touched a little bit on Charlotte and what they need to do in the offseason. I think they're ahead of schedule, actually, for the way that they played this season. I didn't expect the Hornets to be even close to the play-in tournament this year. So, but as we said before, I think they need to focus on their front line rotation, finding a legit starting center. I don't think, or I'm not sure Montrezl Harrell is really that guy. I like Montrezl a lot as a player, but I think in order for that team to get better, they should look for an upgrade at that position or the power forward position. They need to figure out what they're doing with P.J. Washington, whose name came up a bunch in trade rumors at the deadline this year. And they've, just like Sacramento, they've got to figure out how to play defense.
Yeah, I like P.J. Washington for the Kings. I mean, he's a little undersized.
I'm not so sure.
Still.
They're undersized everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a good portion of this game where they were playing Miles Bridges at the 5 guarding Clint Capella.
Yep.
So they definitely play a small lineup. I'm not sure I really like the Rozier and LaMelo Ball backcourt. They're both good players in their own right. I just don't know if it works together. I think that I didn't like the decision to let go of Devontae Graham for them. I thought he was perfect for that team. He was on the up and up, had just come off of a really, really good season, and they basically let him walk. So we'll see what happens, but I think they definitely got to focus on developing some young talent and what they're going to do with this front court.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about Scary Terry. He's undersized. He's playing the shooting guard role on this team. They just got rid of an undersized shooting guard in Malik Monk, who has had a breakout season in L.A. But I think they need to upgrade at the shooting guard position, and then, they need to find a big man. I just think that he's too small. You can't play shooting guard at 6'1". It's really tough. We've seen Davion Mitchell try it.
Right.
I just feel like size is important in the NBA. It just is. It's part of the game.
It's important. It's not everything, but it's important. They have their biggest problem is that they've got like 7 of the same player.
Yeah.
Like Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
They're not the exact same player, but they all do roughly the same types of things.
Jalen McDaniels
on the court. So positionless basketball is great, and that might be the direction the NBA is going. But if you can't play team defense together with that lineup where you're going to be switching a bunch of screens, they end up getting in these terrible mismatches off of these switches. It means that your positionless basketball is meaningless.
Yeah. They need to start MJ next to Ball. That's the only way it's going to happen. All right, well, moving here on to the second team that has gone fishing today, the San Antonio Spurs. I think many people would say, it's kind of weird to say this, but they've overachieved in
for sure.
even being in this potential spot. This was the Lakers' spot to lose, and the Lakers lost it. So the Spurs were able to move up here. Their GM is probably feeling a little bit relieved that he actually has a chance in the lottery now. Yeah. But,
they don't have their pick, though.
Oh, they traded that pick, huh? Wow, that's rough. But they have DeJounte Murray. He has been playing incredibly well. Devin Vassell, as I mentioned, is absolutely killing it for them. Lonnie Walker, I like him a lot. I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. But what is this team doing moving on here?
Well, again, I'm looking at the front court. I mean, Jakob Poeltl had a pretty good year, I think, for his standards. I don't consider him to be one of the better centers or big men in the game, but he played very well for them this season. I just think they have some questions to answer down there on the front line. They now have Zach Collins, a guy who has been out of basketball for a long time over the past couple of years with injuries. What are they really going to do with him? How much can you rely on him for? And then you've got guys like Doug McDermott and Devin Vassell and all these guys who, might be at different stages of their careers. I think it's a personnel issue with them. They've got some really nice starting blocks. DeJounte Murray, I like Devin Vassell a lot as a player, and Keldon Johnson had a really, really solid rookie season. He definitely played better than I expected him to, especially offensively. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who was advertised as an athletic freak with a lot of defensive potential, but he shot really, really well from three this year. I want to say he actually was at 40% from three. I might be wrong about that, but I think he was pretty close, if not there. So they've got some good things to go off of. Lonnie Walker is a big question mark for me. I think he's got an amazing potential. He can really get hot very, very quickly, but again, kind of like Charlotte, that to me they've got a bunch of the same type of player here. Joshua Primo is another guy, their first-round pick this season, who they have high hopes for. He was drafted, I think, a lot higher than most people expected, and he hasn't really panned out the way that they might have hoped. There's still time for sure, but they just got a lot of young question marks to answer on this team, and I do expect them to look pretty closely at their front line as well.
So we were mistaken here on the draft picks. They actually have 4 draft picks in this draft, 3 first-rounders and a second-rounder. They have their own first-round pick. They can land between 1 and 4. They have a 4.5% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. If they don't win the lottery, it drops to between 9 and 13, depending on how the seeding works out. They also have first-round picks from Boston and Toronto, and they have the Lakers' second-round pick as well.
Wow!
So they
expect them to be busy.
Yeah, they have a lot of things to work with here. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Jakob Poeltl is the answer for them at center. I think he's more of a backup center to me.
I agree.
They need to figure out who that is, and I think honestly they just need to figure out what the direction of this team is going to go. Is Greg Popovich How long is he going to stay around?
Yeah, that's another question.
Is he here for a full rebuild? Obviously, he's been there the past 2 seasons and they've underperformed, and he's still there. But I think they need to figure out what's going on with with Pop. So if he's there to stay, they might need to speed up this process a little bit. Versus if he moves on, maybe one of his assistants or somebody he groomed comes back in, takes over, and then they can take their time and rebuild this thing and try and get back to where they were, where they're a competitive team for 20 years. 20 years. And, honestly, they are one of the best run franchises in the NBA. So
in all the professional sports,
I wouldn't be surprised if they are back in the playoffs sooner rather than later.
Yeah. If DeJounte Murray continues to get better, like he already made an all-star team this year, he's a really, really fine young player. So that's a great start right there.
What are your thoughts on Zach Collins? I know he's been dealing with a ton of injuries. He was originally drafted by Sacramento, traded to Portland. I think he was like the number 10th pick overall. He's had more injuries, but he played okay today. 17 minutes, 5 points, 2 rebounds. Obviously not what he did when he was in Portland. But is he a future player on this team, somebody to build around?
Not for me.
Okay.
I don't see what the Spurs see in practice every day, but at this point, like you said, he's been hurt a lot, and I'm just wondering. I'm not sure how much money he makes either, but I feel like it's a decent amount.
Let me take a look here.
So I just feel like you can't rely on him for what you really need out of him.
I'm just running his salary here real quick. I don't think it's much. So he signed a 3-year, $22 million contract with San Antonio. So he's averaging about 7.5.
Okay,
a
so
season.
it's less than I thought it was, but still, I just worry about his overall productivity. I'd be interested to see how many total games he's played in the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's at some point it gets hard to rely on somebody when they're constantly missing games.
Looking at this entire roster here of San Antonio, how many starters do you see actually on this team?
Oof, that's tough.
I mean, you got Josh Richardson coming off the bench. He played a ton of minutes tonight, 12 points for him. You got Lonnie Walker coming off the bench. Then you got guys like Romeo Langford who have bounced around, not really sure what to expect from him. And Zach Collins coming off the bench. I see maybe 2-3 starters.
Yeah,
on this
they have a
roster.
bunch of tweeners on this team, guys that you might hope become starters, like a Devin Vassell, who this is only his second season, so you hope there's still some progression to be made from him, and he can eventually become a full-time starter. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Doug McDermott, Lonnie Walker, these are guys who have started a bunch of games in the NBA for multiple teams, but are they on a team that you want to build around the hopes of winning a title? Are those guys really going to be your starters? I'm not sure. Zach Collins is another one who you would expect to start when he's healthy, when he's playing really well, but he just hasn't worked himself back into that form yet. And even Jakob Poeltl, he starts on this team, but is he really a starter? So yeah, to me, they just have a bunch of in-between guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they have a bunch of guys and a bunch of picks now that they can try and trade up, try and acquire one of these guys, make a big trade. But, it's been interesting because all the guys that they've really brought in, like a LaMarcus Aldridge, a DeMar DeRozan, all these guys haven't really flourished in this system. So, I might be a little hesitant to bring in a guy like a Bradley Beal or somebody like that, I know Pop is a great coach. Like I said, one of the greatest, but it seems like he only works with certain types of players and stars. Otherwise, they're just too much into themselves or they just don't buy into the system right.
Well, I'm not so sure I agree with that. I think all of his players buy into the system. I mean, we already mentioned they led the league in assists per game this year. They really share the ball. When you think of San Antonio, they've had these mega stars, right, over the last 20 years, Duncan and Ginobili and Parker, and the list goes on, Kawhi Leonard, all that stuff. But even those guys played within Pop's system. I mean, I think that if you go play for Greg Popovich, you're playing his way.
Yeah.
You're not playing your own way.
But it might hinder you as a player, like it did to LaMarcus Aldridge.
Did it really hinder him, though? I mean, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
So I remember after his first season was over, he was considering asking for a trade. And Greg Popovich admits that he used him in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to let him do more of his thing. I tried to do too much with him. I tried to take him out of his game. I tried to make him one of these system players, and that's not what he is. And, I mean, he didn't really thrive after that point. He moved on. You know, we saw him with Brooklyn. Then he had the heart injury or the heart issue. Yeah. I think he's back now. But, yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you look at such an amazing coach and such an amazing franchise, and then it seems like when guys like DeMar DeRozan leave there, they just have career years. Maybe it's just one guy.
I think it's probably more of a one-off. I mean, first of all, how many
look at Kawhi Leonard?
How many coaches would actually say something like that? Admit that they used a guy the wrong way and they impacted his performance negatively.
Yep.
There aren't many coaches I can think of that would say that.
And it's funny because when he's interviewed by the media, he literally answers in like 5 words.
Oh, he gives the best interviews.
It was a bad game. And then we saw Kawhi Leonard also left the Spurs, played great. Not that he didn't play good with the Spurs.
Was a Finals MVP.
He had
with
probably
the Spurs.
he had probably his best season of his career with Toronto.
Oh yeah, he did. But again, Finals MVP with the Spurs. He played really well for them too.
Yep. To everyone that's just joining us, welcome to Basketball at the Bar, your favorite sports bar. We're just breaking down the games today, the teams that got eliminated. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button. We put out fresh live content Monday through Friday. We would love if you guys join us. A couple more things today on the menu. We are going to cover the Clippers and Pelicans preview for Friday's game, also the Cavaliers Hawks preview, and then we're going to jump into Q&A with you, the fans, the barflies here in the chat. So get your questions, get your subjects ready, post them here in the chat.
Get your popcorn ready.
And Calvin and I would love to interact with you all and have a good time answering all those questions. So Calvin, Friday, I'm excited. 2 more games till the playoffs start.
We're almost there.
First off, we have the Clippers and the Pelicans. Because the Clippers have a better record, they will be hosting this game. Let me hear your thoughts and a prediction for Pelicans at Clippers.
I think this game is going to be a close game. To me, you know, I haven't heard anything about Kawhi. I'm not expecting him to play in this game, which, of course, would help the Clippers immensely. But I think that the Clippers are going to play better than they did against Minnesota. Paul George, I'm certainly expecting another big game out of him. And to me, the X factor here is actually Jonas Valanciunas. Okay. Because I expect CJ to have a good game. I expect Brandon Ingram to score around 20 points, maybe a little more. I expect Paul George to have a big game as well. Mm-hmm. Valanciunas, to me, if he can dominate that matchup inside with Zubats, that's going to be a big key to New Orleans winning this game. That being said, I'm still going to take the Clippers.
Okay.
I just think the Clippers are going to have a bounce-back game after a rough one. They're going to have a really bad taste in their mouth from Pat Bev. They're going to come out.
Who doesn't?
Well, of course, but they're going to come out ready to play. They're going to be at home, and I think they're going to win this game.
Okay. I'm a little mixed on this game. You know, that last Clippers game gave me a bad taste in my mouth for the Clippers because I picked them just like you to win that game, and they totally disappointed. This Clippers team is like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Like, we talk about how they have the potential to be the best 3-and-D team in the league. You look at all these players, great defenders, great three-point shooters, but you know what they say about the 3-ball, right? When it falls, it falls.
You live by the 3, you die by the 3.
Yeah, and then when it dries up, it dries up. Now, if I weren't to take the fourth quarter of this Pelicans-Spurs game in here, I would be like, oh, the Pelicans are going to blow them out. But the Pelicans worried me in this fourth quarter of this game. Yeah. They stopped moving the ball. They let the Spurs kind of work their way back in here. Be real here. The Spurs had no business even being in this game. They're only here because the Lakers suck. That's the only reason why. So
Can we hear that again?
the Lakers suck.
Lakers suck.
So I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I'm not going to make a prediction here as far as who's going to win this game, but
You're not going to make a prediction.
But I'm going to tell you, I think between Paul George and CJ McCollum, whoever has more points, that team's going to win.
Okay.
Because I think that matchup is going to be huge. If Paul George can shut down CJ, Pelicans are going to be in trouble.
I think the Clippers need Paul George to score more in this game than the Pelicans need CJ to score.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul George, to me, has to have about 30 points.
Yeah. I think they both have to have 30 to win.
Well, Brandon Ingram is the guy for me. Like,
Yeah.
if Brandon Ingram goes off and has, 30, 35, something like that, they can win that game with CJ only scoring somewhere in the teens.
Yeah. And Brandon Ingram's just coming back from the hamstring injury. It didn't seem to hamper him tonight. He had 27 points. But, those things can linger, and you never know. A day after, 2 days after, maybe he's a little bit slower. I'm not quite sure. But it is going to be a really, really fun game to watch. It really is. All right, moving on here. Cavaliers are hosting the Atlanta Hawks for the final playoff spot. I know the Cavaliers lost yesterday, but they did it in pretty impressive fashion. They were in the game. They stuck around. They came back. They tried. They were playing the Nets, which, in my opinion, have no business even being in the play-in tournament because they should have been in the playoffs already. They have 11-game losing streak this season. I think they're one of the only teams in the NBA to have that. Maybe Houston is one of those.
Yeah.
I know Detroit didn't. I'm not sure about Orlando. I know Sacramento didn't lose that many games in a row. So it's just incredible that they're even in this position. The Hawks played incredibly well today. A very impressive performance by them. But I want to hear your take on this Hawks at Clippers. Cavaliers.
This game is going to be a real interesting game to me because these two teams are almost polar opposites of each other. Atlanta is run and gun, get up and down, shoot a ton of threes, score a ton of points, and not play very much defense. Mm-hmm. Cleveland is the exact opposite. Slow pace, grind it out, get good shots, play really good defense, rebound the ball. I think they're sixth in the NBA, or finished sixth in the NBA this year in rebounding. They're going to get Jared Allen back. They've got the twin towers or even the triple towers inside if you want to throw Markkanen in there. So the size differential, Clint Capella is going to be a really, really important part for the Hawks. He's got to play big. He's got to hold his own inside because he's going to have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley coming at him all day long. Evan Mobley is probably the X factor for me here in this game just because I'm not sure who Atlanta has guarding him. Capella is probably going to be on Jared Allen. They don't have a lot of other serious defenders. DeAndre Hunter is a really, really good defender, and he might end up having to guard Evan Mobley for a lot of this game. But Mobley's got a big reach advantage on him and is very skilled in the post, which is not traditionally where DeAndre Hunter defends people. So it's really this game is whose strength ends up being the bigger strength. Mm-hmm. If the Hawks are able to shoot lights out from three like they did against the Hornets, they've got a great chance to win this game. But if Cleveland can make that difficult for them, not give them a bunch of open threes like they had tonight, they can slow the game down a little bit, they've got a good chance to win. I'm going to pick Cleveland overall to win this game, though.
Okay.
I think Darius Garland and Trae Young are going to cancel each other out, so to speak, because both of them are going to have good offensive games. And then that means it's who steps up inside, and I'm going to take Cleveland's big men over Clint Capella.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Allen's not official that he's playing.
Not official, but I would be shocked if he didn't.
It sounds
play.
like he is. We don't know what's going on with John Collins. I would expect him to at least try and make it a go in this game. Maybe he can help slow down some of those big guys like Mobley and Markkanen. Not known for his defense.
No, and asking a lot to try and stop a 7-footer inside.
Yeah, and he's a little undersized at the position as well. I am going to have to agree with you. I think the Cavaliers are going to win this game. I think that they have to defend the three-point line. That's the key for me.
100%.
That is the key for me because I'm not worried about inside. You got all those big guys inside. That's fine. But if the Hawks shoot 40% from three-point range in this game, they win the game.
Yeah.
So I think Cleveland's got to do exactly what you said. They got to muck it up. They got to slow down the game, and they have to stop the three ball.
And Cleveland has an advantage that Atlanta does not, in that they can put Isaac Okoro on Trae Young.
Yep.
Bigger defender, guy that's known for his defense. Atlanta doesn't have somebody that they can do that to for Darius Garland. I mean, they could put somebody like DeAndre Hunter on him, but I think that's going to hurt them because they're going to need him to guard some of these bigger players for Cleveland. So advantage Cleveland in that regard.
Yeah, and not even to mention they got Rondo coming off the bench. You could put Rondo out there. Like if Trae Young hits a couple threes in this game early on, I'm just putting Rondo out there and I'm just saying, I don't care if you get kicked out of the game or what, Rondo. Just make it tough on him. Be a pest. Be Patrick Beverly.
Yeah.
Just go in there, push him down, do whatever it takes to slow this guy down. I think Trae Young is a phenomenal player, incredible shooter, but those shooters, I mean, you've seen it with Steph Curry as well. When you get physical with them, it makes their game much, much harder.
It does, and you also got to take into effect the amount of energy that they have to expend over the course of a full game because Cleveland's going to go at Trae Young on offense. They're going to make him play defense.
Yep.
And now you got a bigger defender that you can use on Trae Young on the other side of the ball, so he still has to work really hard to get his shots off offensively. Does that affect him, late in the game if he's got to play 42, 43 minutes in this game? We'll see.
Yeah, I think Darius Garland is a great player. Now that I'm thinking about it, Calvin, you picked the Clippers on Friday, right? You took the Clippers?
I did take the Clippers.
All right, I'll take the Pelicans. You want to bet a shot at tequila on this?
We can bet a shot at, you want tequila or Jameson?
Ooh, let's do Jameson.
Shot of Jameson it is. You guys heard it here first.
Come on, Pelicans. Let's see it. Any more thoughts on these games on Friday? I mean, I'm excited. I know you are. And
I'm excited. I'm more excited because this means that we're going to get to Saturday when the real games start.
Yes.
But I think that we got the best possible matchups for the final day of the play-in. So it should make for an exciting day.
Yeah, and I just want to remind you all real quick that although there's no games tomorrow, we will still be live here on the channel. We're going to be live on Royal Rebounds for about 30 minutes or so with coaching updates. We're going to talk about exit interviews, some of these players, some off-season moves we'd like to see happen. That's going to be about 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then we're going to jump right in at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Basketball at the Bar. We're going to talk about all these matchups, what we like, what we dislike. We might make some more bets and some more predictions on these games. And then Friday, we are going to stream early as well. I'm not sure the exact time yet, but we will let you know as soon as we know. All right, Calvin, are we ready to move on to Q&A?
I think we are.
All right, guys, we are here. It's Q&A. We'll give you a couple minutes here. If you guys have any questions, any subjects you want us to talk about, any comments, anything, let us know in the chat, and we would be happy to dive in and answer it and just hang out with you guys and talk. While they're doing that, Calvin, I had a lot of fun watching these games today. Any games surprise you or no?
No, neither of these games surprised me today. I kind of had a feeling that, I thought that Atlanta and New Orleans were going to win. I had a feeling Atlanta was going to win by a lot. Mm-hmm. I thought the San Antonio game could be a little bit closer, but no surprises to me here. The better teams won.
Yeah. I was actually pretty surprised today. We didn't see a single person glue themselves to the court. I thought that was going to be a new TikTok trend or something that we were going to see going on. I actually found the girl. I saw her picture online, and she said it was because the owner of the Timberwolves was killing chickens or something.
Yeah.
So She decided she was...
Just wait. Next year, the NBA is going to announce that you can't bring glue into the stadium anymore.
Damn it. I was actually going to get a couple bottles of glue and set them up here on the stage and be like, today's show is sponsored by Elmer's, your favorite glue.
Yeah, if we get to 20 likes, I'll glue my swollen hand to the table.
Oh, man, that's so funny. You guys have any questions? Ivan, Priest, Brian, anything you guys want to mention before we end the show here? Alfie, man, I didn't see you there. Welcome. Jay Drew, happy you guys all tuned in. Oh, Key Kings, I missed you too. You guys are all here having a good time. Thank you guys so much for joining in. We had a great day, just talking hoops, watching hoops, drinking some beers, having fun, right?
Always.
It's so much fun.
Talking basketball, drinking beers.
Drinking
Doesn't
beers,
get any better than that.
setting up our new stage here. We still got Page up there. He's facing forward. Should he be facing forward or should we turn him around? I mean, he's not losing any games, but...
He's not losing any games. He's fine. He wants to watch the plan.
I think he's excited for the offseason because I know I am. And I hope you guys are excited for the offseason as well because we're going to be talking about that tomorrow on the show. So make sure you guys tune in for that. I got a wish list of some things the Kings need to do to get better. I just need to figure out what Monty's phone number is. I actually saw a picture of him in Arizona. I think he's in Arizona right now. Some Kings fans were at a bar, ran into Monty in Arizona at a bar, and were taking photos with him, talking to him. I guess he spent like 30 minutes with them talking about the Kings and all that. And I'm just thinking to myself, missed it by 3 weeks.
Yeah, we just missed him.
If we have to trade Rashawn, who would like to trade with? What would you expect in return? That's a tough question, Ivan.
That is tough.
Because we really don't know what's happening with Rashawn and his legal troubles and all that and how that will affect his trade value. But one thing we mentioned earlier was the Hornets, right? They need a center. I feel like Rashawn would fit really good on that team. And they actually have quite a few players that I wouldn't mind picking up. You know, I know you're not the biggest P.J. Washington fan, but I like him. I think he can do things that, not a lot of guys on the Kings roster can do.
I think he would fit well next to Sabonis.
Yeah, I like Miles Bridges, as you mentioned, a lot. I think maybe a Miles Bridges for Rashawn Holmes sign and trade would be a perfect deal for both teams.
To me, that's probably the best possible outcome if you're going to trade with Charlotte.
What are your thoughts on Kelly Oubre? Because I've liked him for a really long time.
I don't like him as much as you do.
He's only 26. I'm looking at him, I'm like, how is he only 26? I feel like this guy's been in the league for a while now.
Yeah. I would definitely take him on the Kings because, again, they need wing depth.
Yeah.
They need shooting. He is a pretty reasonable defender.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he could be better if he wanted to be, but he's better than a lot of the Kings defenders are right now. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind picking him up.
I like him a lot because he can get so hot. When he's making shots, like I saw him in Golden State just on fire, dude. And I feel like there's times in the Kings season that we've seen, this season, last season, where during a game they just can't score, right? They go through these droughts of like 4 or 5 minutes long without scoring. I think you can give the ball to Kelly Oubre and he could get a bucket in that time.
Probably.
My only concern with Kelly is that, to me, he's one of those guys that I could see losing motivation in Sacramento, especially if the team goes on a big losing streak, when there's a little bit of drama. He is not an ideal, I guess, role model, as you would say, as far as teammates. He's got a big personality. He's outspoken. He's a good basketball player. But I could see things snowball pretty quickly out of control with him if the Kings are being the Kings.
Yeah. Thanks, Priest. Always appreciate you stopping by, man.
Obi Toppin for Rashawn or Rayshawn.
All right, so here's the deal. I love Obi Toppin. I actually thought I picked him to win Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. I thought he was just going to come in and kill it. I was dead wrong on that. I still like Obi Toppin as a player. I think he's going to – I don't know if he's ever going to be, in my mind, a legit starting power forward in the NBA, but I think he could definitely be a really good role player on a team for a long time, and I think he's going to continue to get a little bit better. I just don't know how big the ceiling is for him.
Yeah.
And right now to trade, I don't even know if that trade would work because I'm not sure how much Obi Toppin makes, but I would need more out of that deal than just Obi Toppin if I'm going to let go of Richaun Holmes.
Yeah, and he's undersized as well, too. He's an undersized guy. Yeah, Techno Peasant. I know. I remember Oubre shooting 19% from three-point range, but, I mean, we're talking about the Sacramento Kings, who have gone, like I said, through like droughts of 5 minutes. I'll take 19% shooting from three versus 0%.
Yeah.
As Sacramento was. Ain't no stopping Obi Toppin. That's just like nothing but net, Jimmer for debt.
Right?
I don't know. I don't think we should bring any guys because they rhyme.
I love Obi. I love Obi as a player.
You were all on the the Obi train.
I really was, man.
Yeah.
I think his game. Unfortunately, his game is probably just not quite what it needs to be for the NBA. I don't know if he's ever really going to have a 3-point shot in the NBA, but that being said, he can give you some really, really solid minutes. Rebounding, his athleticism, super crazy lob threat. If the guy can ever develop some type of jump shot, he'll immediately vault his game to another level. And there's still time for that, but I think if you were to talk about a trade right now today, Richaun Holmes, if I'm sending him to the Knicks, I need more coming back than just Obi Toppin.
Yeah, and I'm not just trading Richaun Holmes for any of these guys. I'm going to wait and see what's going on with some of these big-name guys because, like I said, you need to match salary, right? So if a Bradley Beal becomes available, if a John Collins becomes available, Richaun Holmes is the guy that you can throw in to add another $10 million to whatever salary you can and make it match. So I'm going to wait for the big dominoes to fall first before I end up trading Richaun Holmes for a guy that's underperformed.
Yeah, and I think the Kings really need to, obviously, power forward and shooting guard are the two positions that they want to improve the most, right? But they really have to take into account who they put next to Sabonis.
Yep.
I mean, Obi Toppin, I like the idea of a high-low set where Sabonis gets the ball at the free throw line and Obi Toppin is running short quarter in a short corner for potential lobs or dump-offs, things like that. But he's not a floor spacer.
Not at all.
I don't like that fit very much. I think they really need to focus. P.J. Washington I would much rather have next to Sabonis than Obi Toppin.
I mean, Obi Toppin and De'Aaron Fox running in the full court would be awesome.
That's exciting. Definitely.
But once the game slows down,
if they somehow had Miles Bridges on that team too, that would be really fun.
But once the game slows down, once you're in those like half court sets and you got Obi Toppin and Sabonis trying to figure out who belongs where, I just think you're gonna run into some troubles there. All right, Calvin, you ready to wrap up the show here?
I think so. Thank you, everybody out there.
Yeah, guys, bars closing.
Watching.
Close out your tabs. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate you all. We will be live tomorrow. As I mentioned, it'll be a little bit earlier. Like I said, 12:30 p.m. Hawaii time, which is 3:30 p.m. California time, or 6:30 p.m. Eastern Conference or Eastern Standard Time on Royal Rebounds. We're going to do a 30-minute Kings coverage, and then we're going to jump over here at 1 o'clock our time, 4 o'clock your or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to just, talk about the playoffs, the play-in, all this fun stuff. So make sure you guys join us tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks, guys.
I feel like Mike Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. Oof, hey, I gotta flex. I need a Nike bag, give me the check. I need the money and power, respect, but I promise I'm repping the O to the dead. Hey, oof, I told them out of my way. I don't got nothing to say. Now they can't run at my pace. Yeah, they know that we ain't the same. 402, we rap the game.